You ever hear your own blood turn cold? Not from fear. Not from pain. From betrayal. I did. Sitting in that dimly lit kitchen, the clock ticking like a bomb, I listened to my son, my flesh, my pride, the boy I raised alone after his mother left, tell me, in a voice so calm it made my skin crawl, that I was too old to be trusted with my own money. That I was losing it. That he should just take over, before I ruin everything. I sat there, hands folded, heart pounding like a war drum, and I let him talk. Let him hang himself with every word. Promises disguised as concern. Threats wrapped in fake sympathy. And when he leaned in, whispering, "Dad, you're not thinking straight. Let me help you before you make a mistake," I didn't flinch. I just said, "I already did." And then, he screamed. Called me a senile bastard. Said I didn't know what I was doing. Said I was destroying the family. Said I was punishing him for loving me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments section where you are listening from. My name is Robert Carter. 62 years old. Retired mechanical engineer. Widower for 10 years now. I live in a modest brick house on the edge of Cedar Ridge, Tennessee, same one I bought in '93 with a 30-year mortgage I paid off in 15. I like my mornings quiet. Coffee black, toast with butter, the newspaper spread across the kitchen table like a battlefield map. I like routine. Predictability. Peace. But peace, I've learned, is fragile. Especially when your children think you're dying. I didn't always think Jason was a monster. No father does. When he was born, 7 pounds, 10 ounces, screaming like a little lion, I held him in the hospital and swore I'd give him everything I never had. My father was a drunk who vanished when I was 9. My mother worked double shifts and still couldn't keep the lights on. I grew up hungry, cold, and invisible. So when I had Jason, I vowed he'd never feel that way. I worked 60-hour weeks. Fixed cars on weekends. Took night classes so I could move up. I saved every extra dollar. Not for luxuries. Not for vacations. For him. College fund. Emergency fund. House fund. I wanted him to have roots. Stability. A future. And for a while, it worked. He was smart. Charming. A natural leader. Played quarterback in high school. Got a scholarship to Tennessee Tech, dated a sweet girl named Emily. Had a job lined up at an engineering firm in Knoxville. Then Emily left him. Said he was controlling. Said he blamed her for his failures. Said he screamed at her when he lost a promotion. I didn't believe her at first. Jason always had an explanation. She was too sensitive. She didn't understand pressure. He was just passionate. But then he started showing up at my house. Not for dinner. Not for company. For money. At first, it was small. "Dad, can you spot me $500? Car repair." I said yes. "Dad, rent's late, can you front me $1,200? I said yes. "Dad, I need a new laptop for work, $2,800. I said yes. I told myself it was temporary. That he was down on his luck. That he'd bounce back. But he didn't. He kept coming. And every time, his tone shifted. Less gratitude. More expectation. Then came the day he brought his laptop over and helped me set up online banking. That's when it started. He didn't just want my money. He wanted my life. "You should really let me manage your accounts, Dad," he said, clicking through my investment portfolio like he owned it. "You're not exactly tech-savvy, and things move fast these days. One wrong click and, boom, there goes your retirement." I looked at him. Really looked. He was 34. Balding a little at the temples. Wore glasses now. Had that tired, strained look around the eyes, the kind that comes from too much screen time and not enough sleep. But his voice, it was cold. Calculating. I've managed my money for 40 years, I said. I think I can handle logging into a website. He smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. I know, Dad. But wouldn't it be easier if I just did it for you? You could focus on, relaxing. Enjoying your golden years. Golden years. Like I was already dead. I didn't answer. I just closed the laptop. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, spinning in slow circles. My heart was heavy. Not just from what he'd said, but from what I felt. A quiet dread. A sense that something had shifted. That the boy I raised had become a stranger. That he didn't see me as a father anymore. He saw me as a resource. And I knew, right then, that if I didn't act, I'd lose everything. Not to age. Not to illness. To him. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I started recording him. It wasn't premeditated. Not at first. I just left my phone out when he came over. Voice memo open. Later, I bought a small digital recorder, looks like a keychain. Tucked it in my shirt pocket. In my nightstand. Under the coffee table. And I listened. Over the next few months, the tapes piled up. There was the one from March. Dad, you don't need $400,000 in investments. You're not going to live forever. Let me help you allocate it while you still can. April, look, I'm your only son. It's only fair I get early access. I'm building a future too, May, you're not thinking clearly. You forget things. You mix up dates. You can't even remember Mom's birthday anymore. Which was a lie. I remembered it like yesterday, October 12, 1968. The day she smiled at me across a diner counter and said, "You're the first man who's ever looked at me like I matter." June, if you don't let me handle your finances, I might have to get a lawyer involved. For your own protection. Protection. Like I was a child. Like I was broken. But here's the thing they don't tell you about getting older. Your body slows down, but your mind? If you've lived long enough, it gets sharper. You see patterns. Motives. Lies. And I saw Jason for what he was. Not a son in need. A predator in a familiar face. So while he thought I was fading, I was planning. I'd already diversified my investments, quietly, over the years. Sold off the old 401k, moved into real estate, solar energy stocks, a small vineyard in Napa I co-own with a friend from college. I didn't tell Jason about any of it. He thought my net worth was $400,000. It was closer to $2.3 million. And every dollar was mine. Then came the day he crossed the line. It was a Tuesday. Raining. He showed up unannounced, soaked, face tight with anger. "Dad," he said, standing in the doorway, water dripping onto the hardwood. "I need $50,000. Now." I didn't invite him in. I just stood there, hand on the doorframe. For what? My startup. I'm launching a tech consulting firm. I've got clients lined up. I just need capital. I'd never heard of this startup. Never seen a business plan. Never met a single client. And if I say no? He stepped forward. Not aggressive. Not yet. But close. Too close. Then I'll have to go to court. File for conservatorship. Prove you're mentally unfit to manage your affairs. It'll be messy. Embarrassing. But if that's what it takes to protect the family assets. I stared into his eyes. This was my son. The boy I taught to ride a bike. The man who once brought me a dandelion and called it a golden flower. And now he was threatening me. With a calm I didn't know I had, I said, "Come in. Let's talk." I turned on the recorder. We sat at the kitchen table. I poured him coffee. He didn't touch it. "I've been thinking," I said, "about my will." He perked up. Like a dog hearing a treat bag rustle. "Good. It's time to update it. Make sure things go smoothly." I nodded slowly. "I've decided to leave everything to Claire." Silence. Then, confusion. "Claire. Whose, oh? Her. His sister. My daughter. Jason's younger sister by 3 years. The one he tormented since she was born. The one who stuttered as a child and made him look bad in front of his friends. The one he blamed when our dog died, though I knew he was the one who left the gate open. The one he shoved into a wall at his 13th birthday party because she blew out the candles before he could. The one who, at 17, packed a single suitcase and walked 2 miles to the bus station, never looking back. She called me once a year. On my birthday. Never stayed on the line long. Always sounded tired. Distant. But she was alive. And kind. And when she spoke, she didn't calculate how much she could take. Jason's face twisted. "You're joking." "I'm not. You can't be serious. After everything I've done for you. After all the help I've given." "Help?" I said, voice low. "You mean showing up to demand money? Threatening to have me declared incompetent? Calling me senile behind my back?" He stood up, chair screeching. "You don't know what you're saying. Claire's a nobody. She's got nothing. No job, no future, no. She's my daughter," I said. "And you've spent your whole life making her feel like she didn't deserve to exist." "Well, guess what, Jason? I remember. I remember every time you made her cry. Every time you told her she was a mistake. Every time you told me she was a waste of my time." His face went red. "You're punishing me." "No," I said. "I'm rewarding her. For surviving you." He lunged, not at me, but at the recorder on the table. I grabbed it first. He froze. I held it up. "This has been recording since you walked in." "You're crazy," he spat. "You've lost your mind. I'm calling a doctor. I'm getting you evaluated." "You can try," I said, standing slowly. "But here's the thing, Jason. I've got 8 months of recordings. Conversations where you admitted you wanted control of my money. Where you said I was too old to think straight. Where you threatened legal action unless I gave in." His eyes flickered. Just for a second. Fear. Then he sneered. "You wouldn't. You're my father." And that's when I smiled. Because I realized something. He didn't see me as weak. He saw me as predictable. As a man who'd always put family first. Who'd always forgive. Who'd always give. But he forgot one thing. I was also a man who'd spent 30 years solving mechanical problems. Who knew how systems break down. Who understood pressure points. And I'd just found his. "I love you, Jason," I said. "But I don't trust you. And I won't let you destroy me the way you destroyed your sister." He turned and left without another word. Slammed the door so hard a picture frame fell and shattered. I picked it up. It was a photo of the 3 of us, me, Jason, Claire, on a beach when they were kids. Claire was building a sandcastle. Jason was kicking it over. I was trying to stop him. I held it in my hands. Then I placed it face down on the table. And I called my lawyer. "Margaret," I said. "I want the new will notarized by Friday. Everything to Claire. And I want a copy of the recording sent to you, my accountant, and the district attorney, just in case. She didn't ask why. She'd met Jason. She'd seen the way he looked at me. Done, she said. And Robert? Be careful. I hung up. Walked to the window. Watched the rain fall on the empty driveway. And for the first time in years, I felt clear. But peace never lasts. Because 2 days later, I got a call from a hospital in Asheville. Claire had been in a car accident. She was alive. But barely. And Jason? He showed up at my door that night with a lawyer's letter in his hand. Saying he was filing for emergency conservatorship. Because, he claimed, I was mentally unfit and under undue influence from an estranged daughter. And as he stood there, smug, certain he'd won, I realized the war wasn't over. It had just begun. Claire wakes up in a hospital with no memory of the crash. Jason claims he's there to support the family. But Robert knows better. Because the night of the accident, Jason wasn't in Asheville. He was here. Standing in Robert's driveway. Holding a tire iron. The hospital smells like antiseptic and fear. I sit by Claire's bedside, her hand in mine, cold, fragile, the foredrip ticking like a bomb. They say she'll wake up any day now, but when she does, they warn me, the trauma might have erased chunks of her memory. It's like the brain draws a black marker through certain moments, the neurologist said. Sometimes, it never redraws them. I don't tell her that yet. Claire's eyelids flutter. A nurse with a stern face tells me to step outside. I obey. In the hallway, Jason appears, smiling too brightly, lawyer by his side. He hugs me, a tight, suffocating grip. Dad, how is she? He asks, eyes fake watery. Still critical, I say. Tough for you, he murmurs, like he's offering sympathy. The lawyer glances between us, unimpressed. Inside the room, Claire stirs. Her eyes open, cloudy, unfocused. She stares at the ceiling light, then at me, and for a second, recognition flashes. Daddy? Her voice is a whisper, cracked like dry clay. I'm here, sweetheart, I say. Where's Jason? I almost laugh. Jason. The name on her lips sounds foreign. Betrayed. He'll be here soon, I lie. Her brow creases. Why do I feel scared? I squeeze her hand. You've had an accident, that's all. You're safe now. Safe. The word rings hollow. Because I know who put her here. That night, I go back to my house. Sleep is impossible. Instead, I sit in the study, the one room Jason never invades. The walls are lined with bookshelves, my life's work, engineering manuals, novels, tax records stacked like armor. On the desk, my old mechanical calculator sits next to the recorder. I press play on the file labeled July 12th, threat of conservatorship. If he doesn't voluntarily hand over the finances, we'll paint him as senile. Easy. Old people don't contest these things. They just crumble. Jason's voice. Smooth, confident. The lawyer he consulted sounds older, gruff. You've got a strong case, son. The sandbagging tactics. Classic. Tell him I'll draft the papers by Thursday. I rewind it. Play it again. In the kitchen, I open the drawer where I keep the tire iron. The one I'd bought months ago to fix a flat, then forgot. Jason used it. I'd seen him in the driveway the night of the crash, torch lit, staring at my SUV parked outside. When I called his name, he slammed the garage door and drove off. But fingerprints? Evidence? I don't have any. Yet. 2 days later. The district attorney isn't interested. Mr. Carter, she says, leaning back in her chair, we need evidence. Threats, yes. A pattern of behavior, excellent. But a tire iron? Without proof it's his tire iron, or that he was even here the night of the accident, she shrugs. It's your word against his. Jason's word, of course, carries more weight. He's the concerned son. I'm the elderly man with cognitive issues, per his lawyer's preliminary report. I leave her office and walk into a downpour. My phone rings, Claire's hospital. Mr. Carter, the nurse says, voice urgent. Your daughter's changed. She's asking for Jason. Very insistent. What do you mean? She claims he's her brother and you're trying to hurt her. We've had to sedate her. I drive there at top speed, rain sluicing off the windshield. In Claire's room, she's awake, thrashing against restraints, shouting. Let me go. Jason. Jason. I kneel by her bed. Claire. It's me. Robert. She stops fighting, goes still. Then, crying. Huge, silent sobs. The nurse injects another sedative. When she sleeps, I stare at the family photo on her nightstand. The same one that fell when Jason smashed the door, now cracked, Claire's face obscured by a shadow. In the hallway, Jason finds me. You're harming her, he says, voice low. Reopening old wounds. She needs stability, not your paranoid fantasies. Paranoid? I step closer. You tried to kill her. His smile doesn't waver. Prove it. Over Jason? That's not how it works. Over both of you. The words hit like a physical blow. What? Dad, listen to me. I love you. But this whole thing, it's toxic. You and Jason, fighting over money, using me as a weapon against each other. I almost died because of this family's obsession with inheritance. Claire, I'm trying to protect you. By recording your own son. By playing games with wills and lawyers. She shook her head. You're both so focused on winning, you can't see what you've become. He's a monster, yes. But you've turned into something else. Something cold. I wanted to argue. To explain. But looking at her, broken, traumatized, caught between a brother who'd tried to kill her and a father who'd used her as a chess piece, I couldn't find the words. I've already called a lawyer, she said quietly. Someone neutral. Someone who doesn't know our family. I'm going to request temporary conservatorship over both your estates until this is resolved. No more games. No more recordings. No more threats. Claire, you don't understand. Jason. I understand perfectly. Her voice was steel now. He's dangerous. You're vindictive. And I'm done being collateral damage. A knock at the door. A woman in a gray suit entered, sharp features, briefcase in hand. Ms. Carter. I'm Patricia Vance. We spoke on the phone. Claire nodded. Dad, this is my attorney. Patricia Vance. I knew the name. She'd taken down half the corrupt officials in Nashville. She didn't lose. Mr. Carter, Patricia said, tone professional but cold. I'll need you to step outside while I speak with my client. I stood on numb legs. At the door, I turned back. Claire, please. Everything I did was for you, she finished. I know, Dad. That's what makes it so sad. In the hallway, Jason was waiting. But not alone. Harold was with him. And two men I didn't recognize, young, aggressive-looking, suits too sharp for hospital visitors. Dad, Jason said, his smile pure predator. Meet my new legal team. Turns out Harold here has some interesting documentation about your mental state over the past few years. Paranoid behavior. Secret recordings. Hidden assets you've been moving without telling your accountant. Harold wouldn't meet my eyes. You recorded me without consent, Jason continued. That's illegal in Tennessee. One-party state for phone calls, sure, but in-person conversations in private settings? That's a felony. Each recording is a separate count. How many do you have, Dad? 20. 30. That's decades in prison. One of the lawyers stepped forward. Mr. Carter, we're prepared to offer a deal. Transfer power of attorney to Jason, and we'll forget about the recordings. Otherwise, Jason finished, I'll see you in criminal court. And Claire? Well, she'll get to watch her father go to prison. If she even remembers who you are by then. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. The boy I'd raised. The man he'd become. And I realized Claire was right. We were both monsters. But I was the one who'd created him. You want war? I said quietly. Fine. But know this, I've got more than recordings. I've got 40 years of engineering experience. I know how to build things. And I know how to take them apart. Piece by piece. Jason's smile faltered. Your girlfriend's SUV, I continued. The one that ran Claire off the road. Did you know modern vehicles have black boxes? Record everything, speed, brake application, steering input. And Marla Chen, my investigator. She's very good at retrieving that kind of data. Harold went white. Jason, you said. Shut up, Jason snapped. Oh, Harold doesn't know. I turned to the accountant. Your golden boy here tried to murder his sister. And you helped him by giving him the information he needed to know she was now worth $2 million dead. That's slander, one of the lawyers said. No, I said. That's a promise. You want to play legal games? Let's play. But remember, I've got nothing left to lose. My daughter already thinks I'm a monster. My son wants me dead or in prison. So what's stopping me from burning it all down? I walked away, leaving them in the fluorescent hospital light, their threats echoing behind me. In the parking garage, I sat in my car, hands gripping the wheel. 40 years of building a life. A family. A future. And it had come to this, lawyers and lies and children who saw me as nothing more than a bank account with a pulse. My phone buzzed. A text from Marla Chen, got the black box data. You were right. Clear evidence of intentional ramming. But Robert, there's something else. The SUV was rented. And the signature on the rental agreement isn't Jason's. I stared at the screen. Whose is it? I typed. 3 dots. Then, Claire's. The phone slipped from my hand. No. No, that was impossible. Claire was the victim. Claire was. Another text, security footage shows her renting it 3 hours before the accident. Then reporting it stolen an hour later. Robert. I think your daughter played you both. I sat in that parking garage, engine off, world spinning. The girl who forgot his name. The boy who thought I was weak. And me, the fool who thought he could protect anyone from the poison we'd all been drinking for years. Claire was right about one thing. This family was toxic. But she was wrong about something else. She wasn't collateral damage. She was the architect. The truth was a knife twisting in my gut. Claire, my daughter, the one I'd spent years protecting, had orchestrated her own accident. She'd rented that SUV. She'd set this entire nightmare in motion. I sat in my car, hands gripping the wheel until my knuckles turned white. The betrayal was worse than anything Jason had done. Because Jason? I'd seen his greed. I'd watched him rot from the inside out. But Claire. She'd played the victim so perfectly. The fragile daughter, the wounded survivor. And all along, she'd been the architect. Rain began to tap against the windshield, each drop a tiny explosion of clarity. I could see every moment now in retrospect: Claire's accidental call mentioning the will change, her convenient confusion about Jason, her sudden interest in my financial affairs after years of indifference. She'd been playing a long game. Marla's voice crackled through my phone. "Robert, we need to move fast. Claire's lawyer is already filing for emergency conservatorship. If she gets control of your estate before we expose her, she wins." I exhaled sharply. Then we don't give her the chance. The dashboard clock read 9:17 p.m. The courthouse would be closed, but not for long. I had one night to prepare my countermove. I drove straight to my house, rain now sheeting across the windshield. In my study, I unlocked the bottom drawer of my desk, the one I'd kept locked since my wife died. Inside lay a small fireproof box. I entered the combination: Elizabeth's birthday. Inside were documents I'd hoped never to use: property deeds, stock certificates, a USB drive with years of financial records. As I gathered what I needed, memories flooded back. Claire at 8, building that sandcastle on the beach. Jason at 12, kicking it over. My wife's voice: "They're just children, Robert." My response: "They're learning how to be adults." I'd failed. Both of them. Marla called again. "I've got something else. Claire's been in contact with a man named Victor Rourke. He's a real estate developer with a trail of shell companies. They're planning something big. Big enough to risk attempted murder. Apparently." I felt the weight of my age then, 62 years of building, sacrificing, providing. And for what? Children who saw me as nothing more than an ATM with a heartbeat. "I'll be at your office in 20, I said. Marla's office was a converted warehouse space downtown, exposed brick, modern furniture, and walls covered with case photos. She was waiting when I arrived, her expression grim. "I've been digging into Claire's communications," she said, sliding a tablet toward me. "She's been planning this for months. The accident was just phase 1. On the screen were text messages, dozens of them, between Claire and someone named VR. VR, once you have control, we move the assets through the Caymans. Clean. Untraceable. Claire, my brother is getting desperate. He'll do something stupid soon. VR, make sure he does. We need him out of the picture." My stomach turned. Who is this guy? Victor Rourke. Owns property all over the southeast. But here's the kicker: he's been buying up land adjacent to your vineyard in Napa. Your $2 million investment. It's sitting on land that, if rezoned, would be worth $20 million. Understanding dawned. Claire doesn't just want my money. She wants the vineyard. And Rourke wants the land. They need you declared incompetent so they can sell it. I rubbed my temples, a headache building behind my eyes. So what do we do? Marla leaned forward, her eyes sharp. We trap them. We make Claire think she's won, then we spring the trap. The next morning, I cancelled my appointments, turned off my phone, and drove to the hospital. Claire was alone in her room, the olive tree I'd given her now wilting slightly on the nightstand. "Dad," she said, her voice cautious. "What are you doing here?" I sat beside her bed, took her hand. Her skin was cool, dry. "I've been thinking about what you said. About how toxic this all is." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "And? I think you're right." I sighed heavily. "I don't want to fight anymore, Claire. I've been difficult. Stubborn." She watched me carefully, searching for the trap. "So what are you saying?" "I'm going to drop my opposition to the conservatorship. On one condition." "Which is?" "That you and I work together. That you help me understand why you've been distant all these years." A flicker of triumph crossed her face, quickly masked. "I've just been busy, Dad." I nodded, as if accepting the lie. "Well, I want to fix that. I want my daughter back." She squeezed my hand, too tightly, too eagerly. "I want that too." I stood to leave, then paused. "Oh, I almost forgot." The accountant called. "The quarterly statements are ready. I've got them at home if you want to look them over. For when you take over." Her eyes lit up, genuinely this time. "I'd like that. I'll have them ready tomorrow evening. Come by around 7. I'll be there." As I left, I glanced back. She was already texting, no doubt informing Rourke of her imminent victory. That night, I prepared my house like a stage set. I placed the fireproof box on my desk, left it unlocked. I made sure the recorder was running in the study. I brewed a pot of tea, Claire's favorite, chamomile with honey. At 7:05 p.m., the doorbell rang. Claire stood on my porch, wearing a blue dress I'd given her for Christmas 3 years ago. She was playing the part of the dutiful daughter to perfection. "Dad," she said, embracing me. I forced myself to return the hug. "Come in. The statements are on my desk." She followed me to the study, her eyes darting around, taking inventory. "You should really update this place," she said, running her finger along a dusty bookshelf. "It's stuck in the 90s. "I've been comfortable," I said, sitting behind my desk. She took the chair across from me, reaching for the folder I'd placed there. "Let's see what we're working with." As she flipped through the pages, I watched her face. The momentary confusion when she didn't find what she expected. The flash of suspicion. "Dad," she said slowly, "these are just the public holdings. Where's the rest? The vineyard? The offshore accounts?" I feigned confusion. "What offshore accounts, Claire? This is everything." Her eyes hardened. "Don't play dumb. I know about your other investments. The ones you didn't tell Jason about." "I don't have any other investments," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Just what you see there." She slammed the folder shut. "You're lying. Where's the real paperwork?" "There is no other paperwork, Claire." Her face changed then, mask slipping, rage building. "You promised you'd cooperate. You said you wanted to fix things." "I do want to fix things," I said quietly. "I want to fix what you broke." She stood abruptly. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The accident," I said. "The SUV you rented. The lies you've been telling." Her face went white. "You can't prove anything." "I already have." I nodded toward my phone on the desk. "That's connected to my lawyer's office. Everything you've said is being recorded." She lunged for the phone, but I was faster. I grabbed it, stood up. "You think you're so clever," she hissed. "So righteous. But you're just a sad old man who couldn't keep his family together." I didn't flinch. "You're right about that. I failed you and Jason. But I'm not going to let you destroy what's left of this family." "You've already done that," she said, her voice rising. "By loving him more. By always taking his side. By letting him treat me like garbage." The words hung between us, raw and painful. "Is that what this is about?" I asked. "Some twisted revenge against Jason?" "Against both of you," she shouted. "You were never there when I needed you. Always working, always fixing things, but never fixing us." I felt the weight of her words. The truth in them. I'd been so focused on providing, I'd forgotten to be present. "Claire. Shut up." She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "Do you know what it's like? To be the afterthought? To watch your brother get everything while you scrape by? I needed that money, Dad. I needed it to escape." "Escape what?" "This." She gestured wildly around the room. This house of lies. This family of ghosts. The doorbell rang. I checked my watch. Right on time. That's my lawyer, I said. And the detective. They're here to take your statement. Her eyes widened in panic. You wouldn't. I already have. The courtroom was packed, friends, neighbors, people I hadn't seen in years. All drawn by the spectacle of a family tearing itself apart in public. I sat at one table with my lawyer, Patricia. Claire sat at another with her attorney, a sleek man in an expensive suit who smelled of ambition. Jason was there too, somehow. Released on bail after his arrest, his face a mask of confusion and rage. He kept looking between Claire and me, trying to understand how his ally had become his enemy. The judge entered, an older woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much human weakness. We're here regarding the matter of conservatorship for Robert Carter, she said. I've reviewed the emergency filings and the evidence presented. Let's proceed. Claire's lawyer stood first. Your Honor, my client has grave concerns about her father's mental capacity. There's evidence of paranoia, erratic behavior, and potential dementia. The judge nodded. Mr. Carter, you may respond. I stood slowly, feeling every one of my 62 years. Your Honor, I submit that my daughter has orchestrated an elaborate scheme to gain control of my assets. She faked her own accident to create a crisis. She's been manipulating my son. And she's working with a real estate developer to sell property that would be worth millions. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The judge raised a hand for silence. Do you have evidence of this, Mr. Carter? I nodded to Patricia, who approached the bench with a tablet. Security footage of Claire renting the SUV, Your Honor. Financial records showing transfers between Claire's accounts and Victor Rourke's development company. And this, she handed the judge a folder. A recorded confession from last night. The judge's expression darkened as she reviewed the evidence. Then she looked at Claire. Ms. Carter, do you have anything to say? Claire stood, her face composed despite the panic in her eyes. This is a fabrication. My father is trying to discredit me because he doesn't want to face his own mental decline. The judge studied her for a long moment. I'm going to recess for 1 hour to review this evidence. Court will reconvene at 11:30. When we returned, the tension in the courtroom was palpable. The judge entered, her expression grave. After reviewing the evidence, she began, I find that there are significant concerns about both the father's and daughter's motivations in this case. She looked at me. Mr. Carter, while your evidence is compelling, I cannot ignore the pattern of behavior you've exhibited, secret recordings, hidden assets, a confrontational approach to family conflict. Then she turned to Claire. Ms. Carter, the evidence suggests a deliberate attempt to manipulate your father's finances through deception and possibly fraud. She removed her glasses. Therefore, I'm appointing an independent conservator, not a family member, to manage Mr. Carter's affairs until a full investigation can be completed. Additionally, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for potential criminal charges. Claire's face crumpled. Jason stood abruptly, knocking over his chair. This is bullshit, he shouted. She's been working with him all along. They're both trying to screw me. The bailiff moved toward him, but the judge raised her hand. Mr. Carter, she said to Jason, you are already facing charges related to your sister's accident. I suggest you focus on your own legal troubles. As the courtroom erupted in noise, I watched Claire. She was staring at me, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of remorse, but of rage. She mouthed something I couldn't hear over the chaos. But I knew what she was saying. This isn't over. 3 days later, I sat in my study, waiting. The house was empty now, I'd sent the few valuables I cared about to a storage facility. The rest would be sold or donated. I had no intention of staying. A soft knock at the back door. Right on time. Claire slipped inside, her face a mask of false contrition. "Dad," she said softly. "I need to talk to you." I gestured to the chair across from me. "I'm listening." "I made a mistake," she said, her voice breaking. I was desperate. "Victor, he's been pressuring me." I didn't know what to do. I nodded, giving her the rope to hang herself. "And now?" "Now I want to make it right." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small device. "This is a key to a safety deposit box. All the documents are there, proof of what Victor was planning. I want to help you stop him." I took the key. "Why would you help me now?" "Because you're my father," she said simply. "And I realize now that Victor was using me. He never cared about me. But you do." I almost laughed. She was good, so good at playing the victim. "Where is this safety deposit box?" "First National on Main. Box 447. "I can take you there now." I stood. "Let's go." The bank was nearly empty on a Tuesday afternoon. Claire led me to the safety deposit boxes, her hand trembling slightly as she inserted her key. The box slid open. Inside was a stack of papers, deeds, contracts, emails between Claire and Victor. Evidence. Real evidence. "Dad," she said quietly. "I'm sorry." I turned to look at her, and that's when I saw it, the momentary hesitation, the flicker of something calculating in her eyes. The trap within the trap. As I reached for the documents, I felt a sharp pain in my side. Claire was standing close, a small syringe in her hand. "I'm sorry," she repeated, but this time her voice was cold. "But I can't let you ruin everything." I staggered back, feeling the cold spread through my body. "What did you?" "Just a mild sedative," she said, steadying me as my knees buckled. "Enough to make you confused. To make you sign papers. You won't get away with this," I slurred. She smiled. "Already have." The last thing I saw before darkness took me was a figure emerging from the shadows of the vault. Victor Rourke, tall and impeccably dressed, his smile predatory. I woke in a strange room, luxurious, but impersonal. A hotel suite, I realized as my vision cleared. The clock on the nightstand read 8:47 p.m. I'd been unconscious for hours. Claire sat in a chair by the window, a glass of wine in her hand. "You're awake," she said. "Good. What are you doing, Claire?" My voice was hoarse. "Taking what's mine." She set down her glass. The conservator was going to be a problem. But now, well, if you were to have a stroke, or heart attack, while under stress from the legal proceedings, tragic, but not unexpected for a man your age. I tried to sit up, but my limbs were still heavy. "And Victor?" "Waiting downstairs. He'll handle the paperwork once you're incapacitated." I laughed then, a weak sound that turned into a cough. "You think you've won?" "I've won," she insisted. "You're isolated. Vulnerable. And no one knows where you are." I reached slowly for my pocket. "I recorded our conversation at the bank. Before you drugged me." Her face changed. "You're lying." I pulled out my phone. "It uploads to the cloud automatically. My lawyer has the password." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" I pressed play. Her voice filled the room. "I'm sorry. But I can't let you ruin everything." Claire lunged for the phone, but I held it away. "Too late. It's already sent." "You're a monster," she hissed. "No," I said quietly. "I'm a father who finally sees his daughter for who she really is." The door burst open. Police officers flooded in, weapons drawn. Behind them came Patricia, my lawyer, and to my surprise, Jason. "Claire Carter," one officer said, "you're under arrest for attempted kidnapping and assault." As they led her away, still screaming denials, Jason approached my bedside. "I followed you," he said simply. "Saw her take you. Called the police." I studied his face, looking for the calculation, the greed. But for once, it wasn't there. "Why?" I asked. He shrugged. "She's my sister. And even I know she went too far." 3 months later, I sat on a bench overlooking the Tennessee River, watching the sunset paint the water gold. The case had broken wide open. Claire and Victor were facing multiple charges. Jason had testified against them, revealing years of manipulation. My phone buzzed with a text from Patricia, "All charges filed. They're looking at 15 to 20 years." I put the phone away. It didn't bring me joy, this victory. Only a hollow sense of justice done. "Mr. Carter." I looked up. A young woman stood there, mid-20s, dark hair, familiar eyes. "Claire." I whispered, confused. She smiled. "No. I'm Emma. Claire's daughter. My granddaughter. The one I'd never met, the one Claire had hidden from me for years." "May I sit?" she asked. I nodded, my heart pounding. "Claire called me from jail," she said, sitting beside me. "Told me everything. About the accident, about Victor, about how she's been using people her whole life." I didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "She made her choices." Emma looked out at the river. "I just wanted to meet you. To see the grandfather I've never known." We sat in silence as the last light faded from the sky. Two strangers connected by blood and betrayal. "I don't have much," I said finally. "Most of my assets are tied up in the legal proceedings." She shook her head. "I don't want money. I just want family. If that's possible." I looked at her, really looked. At the eyes that were my wife's eyes. At the chin that was my own. "Yes," I said. "That's possible." As we walked back toward the parking lot, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not for money or security or victory. But for something real. Something lasting. A chance to be the grandfather I'd never been allowed to be. To build something true from the ashes of lies. And in that moment, I knew I'd truly won. Not because my children were punished. But because I'd finally found a way to love without conditions. Thank you for spending your time with my story. Feel free to share your thoughts or reactions in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.